Okay, hello, good morning. Finally, we're back in our actual application and it's working. I'm not sure if we actually fixed the core issue with the type fetcher, but I'll figure that out today. Anyways, what we were actually working on in our app was that we had this optimized. Well, the idea is that we had an optimized data structure for querying the database. And then we wanted to convert that, when that structure hits the client, we want to transform that in a way that it's optimized for rendering a list, which is like a very interesting, fascinating thing. And we're completely over-engineering it. But that's what we do as developers. Let's see. So we were working on this. When we get an update to our weekdays, we get this days data structure in, which is an object where the keys is the day or the date. And then within each date, you have a list of profile UIDs. And then within the profile UID, you have the backlog items, backlog item IDs, which are active or not, or is active. If they're not active, they won't be in the list. So what we want to do is to use this data structure. So this is where the conversion happens. We want to convert from this thing into each backlog item. So each backlog item in the client has an array. Let's see. Each backlog item has an object of the profile UIDs, which is an array of days, or holds an array of days. So let me explain that better. So this is the data structure we get in, and this is the data structure we want to produce. So days is on the backlog item in the client, and then you have like Alphone, and then you would have like 2020 like this. So converting, yeah, so maybe we can say UID ID1 days. Oh, do this. So converting this into this. That's what we want to do. And the thing is, we want to be like explicit about this. We want to do explicit updates. We don't want to go the Redux immutable way. Because Redux and like immutability in React in general, it's really tricky with list rendering. Because whenever you make an update to an item, you make an update to the whole list. So you can't get away with the reconciliation of the list itself. Of course, you can optimize by using like React memo and do all these kinds of things. And that's kind of what the React team is pushing as well. Is like typically it's not a problem, but then you have these tools to deal with it. But this is kind of moving in the wrong direction. Like we shouldn't care about this stuff. We should have solutions where we don't have to do this minimal, like these tiny optimizations just to show a list of stuff in the UI. It's kind of silly. Like it's interesting and fascinating as a developer to think about the complexity of doing that. But as a creator, like creating a product, I don't want to deal with render optimizations for a damn list. Like that's just crazy. Anyways, let's implement this thing. So we have our state and we have our days here. So first we need a list of what days has actually been updated here. So the thing is, like, whenever something changes to any of this stuff. So if, for example, this is how I understand it. Yeah, we actually have to test that. Like these snapshots we get, does it actually give us the full set of changes, or does it only give us the key that actually changed? That's interesting. Anyways, so what we want to do is we want the day keys. So now we have all the dates. And then we want to run through. So we kind of want to go. We need the ID first, which is kind of interesting. And we want profiles. Yeah, I wonder what's the best way to deal with that. So maybe we should take. Yeah, maybe we should just go through them. So let's try this first. So let's go through each day. And then we need to go through each day for each. And this gives us the profile UID. And then we actually have to go through days, day, profile UID for each, which gives us the backlog item ID. Okay, so now we have the day, we have the profile UID, and we have the backlog item ID. So first of all, we need to go in and we need to grab state backlog backlog. And then we need to, okay, so when we get these, yeah, and that, I think that's something we noticed last time, is that, yeah, let's fire up the dev tools as well here. One thing we noticed last time is that we're actually not getting things in order, which means that when we add a new backlog item, we might actually get the day. So when we click plus here and we add a day when we add a backlog item, we might get an update to the days before we actually have the backlog. And I wonder about this. Why is it opening the Chrome? This is such an inconsistent behavior. So the thing is, the DevTools of Overmind, when it runs in development mode, it opens up this thing. But for some reason, it does that sometimes in the production version as well. And I wonder why. I do wonder why. Because it shouldn't do that. And I tested this like yesterday. This is so weird. What about the next? Now it consistently opens the DevTools. That's weird. Let's see. Because I made some changes on next to the DevTools. I removed a thing. Maybe it just stopped doing that after I removed. Oh yeah. Okay, cool. So it was actually something I did. Yeah, so what I removed was there was this ability that turned out to only work in development mode, which is the ability to run your app from the DevTools. So you kind of open the app in the background in an iframe, and then you kind of were able to work with the DevTools as the primary like experience of working on your app. But it didn't turn out. But as I've been showing on some other stuff related to visual tooling, building an app, so I'd rather put my eggs in that basket. Cool. So what we have to make sure here, like we might not have the let's see, I really want these things to be close to each other. Okay, so maybe we should be good citizens of our newfound state machine approach. So if it matches, I guess it's the same. In these certain situations, we want to run our logic. But now we have to make sure that, okay, so we might already have created the backlog items here, because we might have gotten a day update, which kind of temporarily creates the backlog item. This is a tricky one. How can we ensure that the days always comes after? How can we ensure that? This kind of sucks, because it would be really nice to just have them in order, because this is where we do the actual thing. We create a document, add backlog item promise, and then we have toggle weekdays promise. So we kind of do them at the same. Okay, so maybe instead of promise all, we'll do one after the other. Yeah, let's do that. So we are going to first await, yeah, first we'll await this one. Like, this is slower, but it makes it consistent. So we'll add a backlog item first, and then we await toggle weekdays promise. Maybe we don't have to. I don't think we, yeah, we don't really need the promise. Let's see. Let's clean this up a little bit. Oh. If adding state, there we go. Should be there. So we are rather going to, because we don't actually get any results here. We just want to await. There we go. So we'll do one after the other. That's what we want. Cool. So now they should be in order, which means we can keep this logic. It's perfectly okay. And then we can be sure that we actually have the backlog item ID there. And then we say, yeah, and then we have to figure out, we're going to do this logic. So if we don't have the date in that array, we are going to add it. And then we're going to, yeah. And then we're going to go through, which one should we do first? Because now we add it and then we iterate it again. Oh yeah, sorry. So first, we want to check, do we actually have this thing? Wait a minute, is days now? Oh yeah, UID, great. Okay, so first we have to check if we don't have the profile UID in there, because that might happen. Oh, this is so annoying. I hate this index signature thing. So when I say that, yeah, I constantly hit this. So when I say this, UID string, for some reason, when you have a string, you can't use it to index. That's really, really annoying. And I wonder why TypeScript does that. Or is it? Oh, sorry. This was my. Yeah, that doesn't help either. Why does it say that? Oh, sorry. No, it's me. I'm doing the wrong thing. Sorry, I was working on something yesterday and I had the same indexing thing. But it's me just doing the wrong thing. Okay. So if we don't have the user there, we have to add it. So let's do, this should be now an empty array. And then now we are sure that we actually have the data we need there. And now we can go in and we can check. So if we don't, if this array does not include our day, then we want to add it. Push day. Maybe we could clean this up a little bit. How should we do this? Yeah, maybe we can just do it here. Profile days. And if not profile days, blah blah blah. And then we want to push it. Cool. If it doesn't include the thing, we push it. And now we have to go through the actual days that are there to verify that. Oh yeah, so this is the tricky thing. I wonder if this snapshot of days is always all the days. I guess it kind of has to be. But that means that every time you toggle, it will actually send 21 days worth of data. Every time you toggle. Which is like, that's not ideal. Like it's not much data. It's not like full 21 days, but that is kind of annoying. Oh, data structures. Tricky, tricky, tricky. How should we deal with this? How should we deal with this? I guess we can just, well, we have to verify first that that is actually how it works. So let's just go through the profile days for each existing day. And then we check, well, let's do this a little bit differently. I think yes, let's do this a little bit differently, because let's rather replace the array. So we'll just give the new array. So we just filter out existing day, and so now we want so we do want the day keys. Days keys. That's also always a question. Days keys, days key, day keys. Yeah. So if we only want to keep any existing days if it's actually included in the array, like the days data structure. And this is where the tricky thing is, because if this is just an update, like it doesn't always contain all the days, then this won't work. But we'll have to test it. Yeah, this is very interesting. Cool. I'm a little bit unsure how we are with the not auth. Now we have this thing, and we added days to our state, and then we have our derived, which just returns all the, yeah, so this is where we're going to do some sorting and stuff. Yes. So I think, do we actually have some items? Let's see now. Do we have some items in the state? Yeah, so we have 2 items here, so we can actually show them. Okay, and we talked about we should have specific components for current week and next week. So let's should we just create? Yes. Oh, we have the current week. Oh, we did start that. Okay, so now we have our items there. So I think we can test this now. Let's just write out the actual days as well. Backlog item days. Let's just do this as a JSON stringify thing and see what happens. Hey, okay, so we don't have anything there now. That's okay. So if I now try to add another backlog item and I say something like this. Oh, so nothing really happened there. Let's see. Are you kidding me? Did I still get the weekdays first? Okay, so here I get actually all the backlog items. That's kind of silly, isn't it? Oh, but I think... Ah, wait, yeah, I think well, at least Firebase, like the real-time database has this. You can listen to specifically to adding and removing items to avoid getting all of them on every update. Does Firestore have the same thing? So on snapshot, on snapshot, yeah, you can. Oh. And this is interesting. Do you actually have to? You can't like only get data updates for a specific... that's interesting. That doesn't seem very efficient, especially on mobile. Yeah, you only have on snapshot. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Anyways, so why didn't it actually update my thing? Backlog. No days, no days, no days. But it did actually. It pushed the date. It's actually there. So backlog item ID days, my UID, and push that thing. Oh, but then I get the backlog item, which overrides the thing. Oh, of course. Of course. Yeah, so we do need to change our logic in this action. So here we always override. And we really don't want to do that. How do we want to deal with this? But how can this backlog item update? Created? No. Anyways, so this is a little bit tricky because we're mixing client-side state with database state, which is typically not a good idea. So there are basically two ways to deal with this. We can move our days into a new state. So now we have backlog, and then we could also have like, well, days basically. Maybe we should just do that, because then we deal with the days, and it doesn't matter. Like for rendering the list, like the backlog item itself, the component, the backlog item, that's the component that will actually look at a specific item in the days. Yeah, I think we should just do that. So we'll introduce, let's see, base date days, and that will be the data structure we wanted to convert to. So it's the UID, and then it's a string array. So we have days, and then instead of adding the days to the actual backlog item, we'll keep that data the same, like that. What's the complaint? Day docs. What the hell is this? Oh, I'm not taking into account okay. Oh yeah, so I'm building up the, oh yeah, it's just, that's cool. Yes, so what I'm building here, yeah, so maybe we can even do this right here. So whenever I get the weekdays from the streaming the weekdays, we'll do the conversion already here. So instead of returning the actual data structure of the database, we'll convert it into what we want our state to be. Because we want our state to be, oh, this is wrong. Backlog item ID. That's the way we want it. So that when a backlog item renders, it can look itself up in this thing, point to the profile, and then it gets the days. So we can make sure we convert that right away. And of course, then we need to actually days by backlog item. And that's what we actually want to put out there. Days by backlog item. And that means we do not really want. So the thing is that the docs now becomes the actual days. Is there any, are we having some issues with? So are we getting that as an array? Yeah, the docs we're getting as an array. And so this is so tricky, because what we're getting is we don't have a type for this thing. But that's the data of the document. God damn it. As UID string. And this is yeah, the backlog item. Then we basically have true there. So what we really want to do here is we want to go through object.keys document. That gives us the UID. And then we want to go through the doc-UID. And that gives us the backlog item ID. This is very interesting. And now we want to say that, okay, our docs backlog item ID. So if we don't have that, we want to create it. And then we want to, and then if we don't have the UID in there, we have to create that. And that should be an empty array. And then we actually want to push, this is interesting, the ID in there. Okay, so this now converts the data we get from the database into a friendly version for the UI. We should probably have commented this or something. Oh, I actually have an appointment at 9. Let's just get this done quickly. So what we want to get in here is not days, but days by backlog item. And then we can do the same here. We can just say object assign state.days, days. And now in this, let's just see that it works. Here we can actually go in and we can, not a backlog item, but we can say state.days backlog item.id. There we go. So now we see, yeah, I'm not sure what's happening with this one. Don't we have a description for it? Backlog item. Oh, didn't we type a description? Huh. Anyways, maybe I forgot to do that. Anyways, but that shouldn't be possible. How was I able to add something? That must be a bug. How was I able to add it without a description? I can't believe it. Like, we have a fucking state machine and we're able to produce the exact bug we're trying to, to avoid. But anyways, as we can see here, now we have the profile UID. We have what are the active dates. And since we're pointing to the specific backlog item state here, this component will only re-render. Like, we need a component for every item, but then it will only re-render if the days for that component actually changes. Okay, cool. So now we've optimized everything. Tomorrow we can go through and we can build a UI for this thing. So that's super nice. I hope this made sense. Like, as I said, we're kind of prematurely optimizing this, but it's such a fascinating concept, this conversion of data, because the source of the data dictates its structure by optimizing for like querying, like in terms of database. But then the data structure is something completely different in terms of render performance. So yeah, like if you care about that stuff. Anyways, it's just interesting. So let's try ready to add current week. Awesome. I guess that's it. Yeah, and I'll see you tomorrow. And thanks for following along. Yeah, cool. Bye now.